Let's make a cranberry sauce wine for the holidays. So, funny thing, neither of us actually likes cranberry sauce. So I figured the only way that we're gonna ever consume it is if we make a wine out of it. It's not true, but it sounded funny in my head. Okay, so this is actually Derica's idea. She loves cranberry juice. She's going to end up with a lot of cranberry juice left when this is over, not just in the wine. But first, we want to start by hydrating our yeast. And for that, I have my self-stirring cup, which is actually just the cup off of a Ninja Bullet. It's actually not the NutriBullet.
We have a little bit of water placed into our self-stirring cup because we found that if you add powders first, you're going to make a mess. So you want to have your liquid in there first. Now, we're not
using all the fun out of everything.
We're not using our cranberry juice as our liquid for reasons we will get to later.
Yep. And we are using what yeast, Derica?
Premier Rouge.
Not Premier Rogue.
No.
That's a D&D joke.
Yeah,
right there.
that's for tomorrow.
Premier Rouge. And I'm just going to use half a packet. I'm going to eyeball half a packet. My rule of thumb for yeast is up to about 3-gallon batches, you want to use half a packet. Over 3 gallons, you want to use a whole packet. At 3 gallons, you can use whichever you like. But the reason for hydrating, it's not actually necessary, even according to the manufacturers. I'm doing it for proof of life, to make sure this stuff is actually alive, and it makes it a little easier to add some of the things that we're going to be adding. I'm just making sure it's actually loose. This is Go Firm.
Now, lots of these ingredients that we're going to talk about now are optional, but because cranberry juice itself is notorious for causing some issues in fermentation, we want to give it every little bit of help that it can get.
We're giving it Go Firm right now, 1/4 teaspoon. This is like Flintstone vitamins for your yeast, okay? It gets them started. There was some confusion. I mentioned that I like this better than Fermentable. What I mean is, as a product that fits what I'm comfortable with putting in my food, this fits a little bit better than Fermentable, though not by much. They're actually both really, really good.
But they're not equal.
No, they're not the same thing. The Go Firm is literally like vitamins to hydrate the yeast, to get them back into life as efficiently and consistently as possible. Whereas Fermentable is nutrients during the fermentation process. There are actually two different aspects of it.
Yeah.
And they're both good. They're both important. I was gonna do without in this one. And then I thought, this is cranberry. We need it. So I have this going. I'm just giving it a good stir, trying to get them off the sides, because if they go up the sides, whoops.
Whoa.
You know, it just wouldn't be a CSB show if I didn't spill something.
We'd like to think that he does it on purpose.
No, I really don't.
He does.
I don't like spilling things, so it's even worse. Okay. Next up is our juice. And for that,
We have a lot of juice, but we don't need a lot of juice. We need a specific amount of juice.
We need
So we're
120
using our pitcher. It's our favorite pitcher. We're so excited about this stupid thing. And yes, I know it's ridiculous, but it just makes our life that much easier.
this pitcher is the sponsor of today's episode. Get yours in the description below. And that's as much of an ad as we're going to do, but it really is a cool picture. Anyway, so this is Kirkland's Signature Ocean Spray 100% juice. Now, it's 100% juice, but it's not 100% cranberry juice. But, you know, if you ever read the cranberry sauce stuff, I'm pretty sure there's other things in
Yeah,
there too.
and we're going to be putting other stuff in ours, so...
Now, the ingredients in this is cranberry juice first. So it is mostly cranberry juice. Apple juice, grape juice, natural flavor, and ascorbic acid, which the ascorbic acid is there to keep that bright red color. But it also adds acidity, which is not so great for fermentation sometimes. Is this shooken? It is shooken.
It is shooken, not stirred.
It's homogeneous. And I'm pouring it directly into the pitcher. I'm off the camera with the
All
fancy
right,
pour.
let's get it on our microphone.
The microphone is right there. So that's 96 ounces, or 3/4 of a gallon. I never know how that's going to turn out. And then I just want to fill this to 128. Yes, I could just measure 32 ounces off of this one, but it's so much easier to do it this way because there's other things that we need to do. And this will go in the fridge, and Derica will drink it because she actually likes cranberry juice. If I can get the lid back on.
I will definitely be drinking this Tuesday night.
Now you have to tell them why.
Because I'm DMing the Curse of Strahd. And they need my blood.
Okay. The first thing I want to do on this is take a pH reading. Wow. That's not where I thought you were going to go with that. Alrighty. Now, everything here and everything that's going to touch this wine was sanitized in
The red bucket of sanitization!
which is literally a red bucket off to the side that, guess what?
We got a new one.
got a new one. It's still a red bucket, and it's very similar to the other one, but now,
I actually think I like this one better.
yeah, it's shaped a little bit better. It's more convenient.
Right.
We'll have to show that, but we do have links to it now, so you can get your very own Turbos now. They do come in other colors, too, in case you don't want red. We should have made Turbos the sponsor of this video.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't. I already said it. I called it. The picture is the sponsor, so
Yeah.
it is the way. It is what it is.
For those of you who are curious, we don't actually have a sponsor. We're just
No.
being silly.
We sponsor ourselves.
Yeah.
When you do use our links to purchase things, we do get a commission, and it's at no additional cost to you. So it does help the channel, but doesn't cost you anything more. So if you want to buy something off Amazon using one of our links, go ahead and do it. Okay. Wow, that is some pretty acidic stuff. It's about 2.5 pH.
Yes, that's too
And that's the
much.
problem that we run into with cranberry juice all the time.
Much.
Now, we did another video with sweet red wine, well, just red wine because it wasn't sweet, where that had a high pH too, or high acidity, low pH, and it fermented out just fine. I don't want to take a chance because I believe there's more going on in cranberry juice than just acidity.
Yeah. All right.
But we need to buffer this.
We do. And with that, we're going to be using potassium bicarbonate.
You can use potassium carbonate. You can use calcium carbonate. You can even use sodium bicarbonate, which is also known as baking soda. Just remember, the more you use, the more likely you are to throw off the flavor of your brew and make it salty. We find potassium bicarbonate to not really be much of an issue. I usually do a half teaspoon at a time. I happen to have a 1/4 teaspoon measure, so I'm just going to do 2. It's starting to chunk up. I think it got a little humidity in here.
Yeah, the paper bag's not helping it out.
There we go. It will also sometimes cause a reaction, which it sort of did a little. I know I'm going to...
There it did.
Yeah. I'm going to need more than a teaspoon or half teaspoon. So I'm going to do 3/4 teaspoons right now, also known as 3/4 of a teaspoon. I need something to mix this with.
Oh.
And for the mixing, I'm going to be using the spattle. It's a spoon, it's a paddle, it's both. You can get yours in the description below. Okay, I'm sorry. We're pushing too many products today, but these are all helpful things.
We love these things.
We don't push products unless there's things that we use. Like you probably noticed that. We're using all the stuff that we're talking about. But we don't take corporate sponsors really, so everything is self-sponsored, if you will. And that mixed right in like it was nothing.
Yeah, cool.
Check number 2. Whoa, didn't even move. That's maybe a little. Still closer to 2.5. All right, so we need more.
So that was 3?
That was 3/4 teaspoons.
Okay.
So now,
Do you want to do 3 more? And that'll be a solid...
yeah, 1.5.
2,
1.5 teaspoons.
1.5, right.
So that is 1 teaspoon. Now that's 1.25 teaspoons. And that is 1.5 teaspoons. And it's starting to fizz up as I add that. Little mixy mix.
Mixy mix. Oh, we got a chunk. Die, chunk, die.
So violent.
You killed the chunk?
Of course I did. I mix stuff all the time. I'm what you call an expert mixer.
So I took the quote where you said the t-shirt and the percentages of...
Oh, you did?
I wrote it down. So that shirt's going to
You've
happen.
got to be kidding me.
Which direction is it going?
I think
Oh,
it's now
slowly-
at 3. All right. That means more. And this is the issue with cranberry. This is why people have stalls. We've had stalls. Other people had stalls. It happens. We actually had cranberry juice just all on its own start fermenting, but it didn't finish.
Yeah.
So that's 1 3/4.
So just do a solid 2 or...
2.
Are you going to do...
Going to 2.5. And 2.5. Here's your reaction. It's just really cool. I like seeing that.
Potassium.
2.5 teaspoons of potassium bicarbonate. And I think this is probably all we're going to add because beyond this, I'm afraid it might start flavoring things and I don't want this to be salty.
No. Cranberry sauce shouldn't be salty.
I don't know what it's supposed to be like. It tastes weird. I've never liked it. Wait a minute. We're doing pH.
We are.
Getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to go through the rest of my pH strip roll here just on this brew.
It's a good thing we have 10 gajillion more.
Gajillion, that's an official number now. Oh, come on. It's not even moving.
Yeah, it is.
It's between 3 and 3.5. You know what, though? I'm going with it.
Yeah.
Ideally, I like to see 4, but what I really didn't want to see was 2.5.
Yeah.
So we know other things have worked in the 3 to 3.5 range, so we're going to go with it.
We're going to take a note so that way we won't forget, because I've already forgotten how much potassium bicarbonate we've added.
2.5 teaspoons. And now
We have to take a hydrometer reading, a specific gravimeter reading. Why? Well, because we don't want to do the math. And lots of people have suggested, hey, what if I don't want to do the math? How do I know what my fermentable sugar level is?
Yep.
Well, this is how you do it. You take a potential gravity reading, or specific gravity reading.
that. Most juices sit around 1050, 1055, 1.055 or so. This one is just like most juices, 1.050. All right, so if I want this to be more like a 1.100, that means I have to do a little bit of math now. But not a lot, because here's something really interesting. This is 1.050 already. To get to 1.100, I would need about 60 more points. I know that sugar is 0.046 or so per pound in a gallon. But you know what? We're just going to add a pound of sugar. It'll get it close enough. It'll be like 1.096.
But we're not going to use just any old sugar. No, we're going to use brown sugar because
Yep.
I want this to have extra flavor. I actually did research on homemade cranberry sauce recipes and found one that I thought would translate well into a wine, and they use brown sugar.
By the way, I misspoke when I said 1050 plus 60 is 1.100. That would be 1.110. So it only 50 points. So 1 pound, we're really, really close. And to make life just a little bit easier, we're going to measure the 1 pound right into our actual fermenter, also known as the TARDIS.
We can't rename it the TARDIS because somebody already took that name.
I
How
can
rude,
call it
right?
that. I just can't actually officially call it that.
But I love this thing. It is actually a 5-liter fermenter.
Which is 1.3 gallons.
Is so compact. It actually takes up less room than our traditional 1-gallon carboys, which makes no sense to
look
me.
at it next to the 96-ounce jug.
It's bigger on the inside.
It just, you know. And this is 1.5 times the size of that.
Ew,
Just
what?
don't look at it. Anyway, so 1 pound brown sugar. And I knew this open package had just barely not enough. It's got 12 ounces. So I have another one ready. What?
I was gesturing to the scissors. That's what I do. I'm assisting with gestures.
Helping.
Over here. Right there. Over here.
Okay. There we go. 1 pound. Didn't need much. You might be asking, why are you guys being so crazy about when you add what and what you're putting it into? Because if I put that sugar into the juice, once I put the juice in here, it's going to splash. And Derica's always in the splash zone. And, you know, I hear about it after we're done filming. So, making life a little easier on myself.
All right, so I'm going to transfer the spattle
Yeah, just toss it in there.
into there. And then I'm going to hand this over to Brian.
Oh, I thought you were going to do it.
Nope.
All right, it is totally okay if you get some oxygen into this right now because we want some aeration at the beginning. It helps the yeast to form a colony and get to work. Then there is no oxygen left. Once they use it all up, you do not want to add more because that's how vinegar can form. So when there's no alcohol, oxygen good. Once alcohol starts being made, oxygen bad. Easy way to remember. We get asked that a lot. Okay, now I just want to mix the sugar up because I can hear it in the bottom.
Crunchy.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about this particular fermenter is because there's this spot for a spigot, it makes it a little harder to mix. And I don't trust the idea of putting the lid on and giving it a shake. Anytime you have a wide mouth, I never trust the seal quite that much. I'm not really hearing the grinding of sugar. Oh, there's a little. Right there, that corner. Okay, so the next step that we want to do is
Zest and orange. This happens to be a navel orange because we found out in experimentation and also a comment by one of you, our viewers,
Steve
that
Patrick, actually,
mandarin oranges.
are a little bitter in the skin.
Yep.
Now, she said zest and orange. We're not zesting it. We're peeling it. We're trying to avoid the pith.
Right.
Zest is the little tiny tendrils. We're doing swaths.
That's the word.
Like this. But you want to avoid the pith. So I'm just getting peel.
That's a lovely swath.
See, that little tiny bit, I don't really care,
That's some quality swath in there, babe. Let's take a closer look. So
carefully.
He's trying to just get the top layer and leave the white behind.
I'm mostly doing it. But a little bit isn't going to hurt you. I mean, some people really freak out over the pith. They say that it ruins it, but you know what? We've never actually had it go that bad because of pith, so I don't want to get too crazy about it. And I don't want to put too fine a point on it either. Because I know the comment section is going to go ballistic. Now, someone will ask, what are we going to do with the orange? We're going to eat it. What else do you do with an orange? I don't know, I might put it into some kind of food maybe, but probably just going to eat it. I tend to eat like 2 to 3 oranges a day. Usually they're mandarins, though. I think that's good enough.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so back to this now. I don't know why I'm mixing it, but I did. All right, so it is now mixed.
Do you want to add the Fermentable at this point?
Yes, I do. That is what... So Fermentable is, like we talked about earlier, nutrient for the yeast. And this, it says, 1/4 teaspoon after pitching yeast. After pitching yeast. I'm going to do it before I pitch the yeast, just because. And then once sugar content is depleted by 1/3 of the original gravity, dissolve an additional 1/4 teaspoon in room temperature water, then add to the fermenter. Okay, we do what's called front loading, which means we just put it all in now. Now, it says after pitching yeast. We're pitching the yeast in like 4 seconds, so I'm not worried about it. It doesn't change anything. It's not going to affect the fermentation that I put this in before I put the yeast in.
Now, if you like to be more hands-on with your...
Sorry. It's jammed in there. Okay, it's good enough.
Now, if you like to be more hands-on with your brew, you can totally go by their instructions and take your readings to make sure that you're at that second pitching area, and that is called staggered nutrition.
Yeah, and basically if we start out at like, say, a 1.100, when 1/3 of the sugars are gone, you'd be at like a 1.066. To me, that's just extra work that isn't going to be... I don't see a difference, okay? That's just me personally. If you want to, go for it. But I am mixing that in. It's clumpy and ugly. It's fine.
Now, because we did add water to this, before we take a gravity reading, we want to add it to our mixture.
Right. Now, this being the yeast. There's just a couple ounces of water here. I don't expect it to be an issue. There was some bubbling, so I know our yeast is good. I just want to give this a thorough stirring.
There are 2 things you want to look at when examining your yeast if you're going to do a pre-hydrate. One, you want to see little bubbles on the top. Sometimes it could be a nice foam dome, as we like to call it, and that's a great sign. Another is if the liquid inside is uniformly cloudy. If it's uniformly cloudy, that means the yeast are going to town. They're already doing stuff. They're getting ready. They're saying, hey guys, wake up. If they all settle to the bottom and you have a murky on the bottom and clearer at the top, more than likely they're dead.
Which means they're great for nutrient. So just add more yeast.
Not from the same packet.
Yeah.
Open a new packet and try again.
Okay, I do, however, want to mix this up because I added water. So I want to make sure it's homogeneous. I think we're there. If you think that we're just being overly critical of every little step, you're right. We are. You know why? We aim to teach you not just how to make this, but how to brew for yourself. That means you can make your own recipes, do your own thing. So if you understand all of the methods that we're using and all of the processes that we're doing, you can basically do this for yourself. And that's the idea of our channel. We don't just want to give you a fish, we want to teach you to fish.
We also know that some of you are visiting us the very first time. You may have never brewed before, so we want to make sure you have all the information so you know what the heck's going on. We also know some of you have been brewing for quite some time, and maybe this information just might be a reminder of why we do what we do.
Okay. I said I wanted to be somewhere around 1.100, but in reality, 1.100 is my maximum. I don't like to go beyond that. We ended up at 1.090, which to me is beautiful. If I take my triple scale hydrometer and spin it around, that comes out to about 11.5% ABV. Derica had actually said she wanted this to be a little bit on the lower side, and we had a slight discussion and came to the conclusion that possibly being more in the double digits for ABV was better for preservation purposes.
Being that at 10% ABV, acetobacters, which are what turns alcohol into vinegar, are going to start to have trouble doing that conversion. Once you get past 15% ABV, pretty much can't do it at all.
Right. So that's why I like to be over 10, closer to that 15. Usually 12 to 13% is pretty much the sweet spot, but like anything from 11 to 14 is all totally fine. If you go to make this and you're off by a few points in either direction, don't worry about it. What I mean by a few points is if you got 1.100, you're okay. If you got 1.080, you're okay. If you got 1.160, that's not okay. If you got 1.020, that's not okay. If you did that and you don't understand how to fix it, ask in the comments below. We'll be happy to explain how to correct that situation so that you can get it right back to where it's in the same realm as what we did.
All right, at this point, we have all of our additions for now.
We do. Okay, so now it is time to put on our lid, nice and tight, make a good seal, and stick an airlock in it. Now, the airlock does a couple things. First, it lets the gas escape, and let me explain how that works. As the yeast starts to work on this, it's going to create multitudes of things, but two things in the most quantity, and that is ethanol, which is the thing we want, and CO2 gas. So it's going to create a lot of that gas, and that gas is going to need to escape. If we did not have an airlock and we just close this off, it will explode. I'm not even using hyperbole there or exaggeration. It will explode because a lot of gas gets made. So what happens is the airlock, because it has fluid in it, sanitizer fluid, or a cheap scotch like Scoresby, or any spirit that you really want to use. I just hate Scoresby scotch. And what'll happen is the gas will come up this side, push this side of the liquid down all the way to this side, and then it will go bloop, bloop, bloop. Now in the beginning, the bloop, bloop, bloop will be a little bit faster. As time goes on, it'll be more like right. And at that point, that's when you're nearing completion of fermentation, and we'll take another reading there. But the other thing that it does is not only does it let things out, it keeps things from getting in. It's like a one-way valve. So like bugs, which that's the biggest thing, fruit flies love the smell of fermentation. They're attracted to it. So they will try to get in here. Sanitizer fluid and cheap scotch tend to kill them really efficiently. Plain old water, it works, but not quite as well. So that's why we like to use sanitizer fluid. By the way, that is sanitizer fluid mixed to the manufacturer's suggestions. Star sand mixed with water.
If you use pure star sand, it's very acidic. These are plastic.
It'll probably
a bad
melt
idea.
your airlock. Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do that. So I have my notes. We have our brew. What are we gonna do now?
We're gonna let it sit.
It's going in our ferment station, which is our fermentation station. It's just a big cupboard where we keep all of our brews. It's going to be in there for probably a couple weeks while it ferments. It's been 1 week, but doesn't look like it's doing much. So off with its head. Giving it the olfactory and optical inspection. It looks good. There's some foam. It smells like cranberry orange.
It smells really good.
It does. There's nothing in there that's, off-putting or wrong in any way.
And it's funny, the foam is actually dissipating.
Yep. Crazy. Anyway, we're going to take a reading on it just to see what it did. Cranberry has a propensity to stall. So normally we would let it sit for another week, but just made me want to check it. Could be done.
It doesn't look done.
No, it doesn't look done. I'm betting you it stalled. And if I were a betting man, I'd have won. 1.034.
All right, so we adjust the pH on this before we started, but we only went to 3.5.
We may have to adjust it a little further. We're going to check the pH right now.
All right, let me grab that.
There's a minor possibility that some of the orange peel added some acidity, but
Yeah.
I think we're grasping at straws with that.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Fermentation process is an acidifying process, so it should have gone more acidic from what we started.
And it did. It's very yellow.
Yeah, it's like a 3.
Yeah, it's still like a 3. Okay, I did a little bit of research. Someone in the comments was saying that as the pH of a starting gravity is lower, like to 3, the amount of acids being produced, so the acidifying effect goes less. Until below 3, it might not produce much at all. But another article said below 3, yeast don't like to work. So I'm thinking we need to raise this pH.
All right.
And give it a good stir.
All right. Do we need to raise the pH and then add more yeast? What does the low pH do to yeast? Does it kill them?
It could kill it.
Or does it make them dormant?
It could kill it.
All right, so we might need.
Do we still have some Premier Rouge lying around?
Let me consult my list.
We have a list of yeast now. Okay, so we got out the potassium bicarb again. We're kind of in rescue mode. Okay, now I want to explain this. In normal mode, when you're fermenting, you don't take risks. That's why we didn't go past 3.5 pH. We weren't worried about it. We thought, it should be fine. We saw in another video, our Tale of Two Wines, that even at 2.5 pH, it's still fermented just fine. Now, everything is different and every scenario is different. And this proves that that is the case. This should have fermented out, but it didn't. So now we're kind of at the point of, well, here's the thing. If we don't adjust pH, it's going to sit where it is. If we do, it might work. So it's a risk.
Now, is it bad to let it sit where it is? Not necessarily, particularly we like the flavor, but this isn't what our goal was. And I think we actually kind of jinxed ourselves because so many people have been telling us about how difficult it is to ferment cranberry juice. And if you saw
We've never had a problem.
We just had a partially opened bottle of cranberry juice that I forgot to put in the fridge that fermented right on its own.
Yep, just sitting out on the table, on the floor.
It hasn't been an issue for us until now.
However, now you might be concerned that I'm oxygenating. No, this is off-gassing so crazy right now. There's fizz coming up.
Yeah.
So it's fine. And I did put in a full teaspoon because even if it goes over 4, I don't care anymore. Like this, we need this to start. And let me explain what I mean by I don't care. 4 is okay. There's nothing wrong with 4 pH, even 4.5 pH, even a little over 4.5 because we have alcohol in here already.
As long as it's below 5.
It's fine. Well, as long as it's not below 3, realistically. A little bit more research that I've done on pH. There's crazy things going on with pH. A lot of reputable sources say you should ferment between 4.8 and 5.2.
Oh, really?
Yep. Even though botulism can happen. Now, I'm thinking they're not making a lot of mead.
Oh.
Because grapes don't really carry botulism.
Sure.
But honey can. So that's why we go with the 4 to 4.5. We simplify it at 4.
But this isn't a mead. This is a wine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So botulism really isn't a worry at all. Did it even move?
I think so. Yeah, you did. It
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it only moved up to like between 3.5 and 4. I'm doing more.
Okay.
I don't trust it.
Now, if you come into a situation like this where you feel like you've had a stall due to a pH,
It might not be pH.
you don't necessarily have to do what we're doing. If you are creating your own recipe, taste it. See what you feel about it. Maybe that stall was a happy accident.
Yeah, I mean, this might taste good at 1034.
Now,
But I want to show.
even with that, you're probably going to want to pasteurize it just in case because there are way too many fermentable sugars still left in here for me to be comfortable in saying it's done.
Yeah, I agree. And at 1034, to me, that's a little on the high side. I'd much rather ferment more of it out. We only started at 1090, so it's actually only gone through like 55 points? Yeah, 55 points of gravity. That's like 8% alcohol, not even.
Yeah.
7.5. Not good enough. So I have now put in another teaspoon and a half. My roll's getting small here. It's starting to fall inside every time I try to pull one off. Got some change that time.
Yeah.
I say we're closer to 4.
Yeah. I'm comfortable.
I'm comfortable there.
Right.
It doesn't need to be
So
over
let's
4.
go ahead and take a note of our adjustment.
1.5 teaspoons K bicarb. The other aspect to a stall, there's a couple things that you can do. Normally, the first thing that I would do is just give this a good swirl and get everything moving. But because we know the cranberry does this and it could be a pH issue, that's why we looked at that first, okay? But normally, that's not the first thing I would look at. Also, yeast don't like to work below 3 pH. They can be damaged by that higher acidity and can die. So the next step is, let's add more yeast. Now, there's ideas of yeast combining and forming a new culture, that can happen. There's yeast attacking each other and killing off one or the other. That can happen too. And some strains are more apt to do that than others. I don't really get that deep into the science of the yeast, but I do know that if we have a yeast culture in here that's not doing well, adding a new, stronger yeast that we're familiar with, that we know performs really, really well, might actually be the answer. A lot of people like to use EC1118 for that. We like to use
The Beast.
Lalvin 71B. Because in our environment, for us, this is EC1118. I'm not saying it does the same thing exactly,
No.
but it works as well as people claim EC1118 does.
Yeah,
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
absolutely.
Made sense in my head. Now, I'm only going to use half a packet though, because I don't. Well, see, here's the thing, and we're in rescue mode.
Yeah.
When
So-
you're in rescue mode, do you use a half packet or do you just go for broke?
Well, typically we would add yeast hulls to this as well,
We don't have any.
but we don't have any. But if we add a full packet, some of that packet's going to be dead,
And-
aka basically yeast hulls.
And also the yeast colony that was already in there.
Sure. So I say do a full packet.
You know what? We can always get more yeast.
Yeah.
You ready for this? We haven't done a full packet of yeast in a brew in a long time. We used to do it in every brew, and we realized that it was probably overkill and not necessary. It made for a very aggressive start, which looking back now, in hindsight, wasn't necessarily a great thing.
No.
But in this case, like I say, we're in rescue mode. So when in rescue mode, you basically pull out all the stops and don't take too many chances with your stuff.
Back your packet.
That's right. I'm getting every single one of these little suckers in there so that they can do their thing, because if 71B in our instance can't do it, it's not going to work. And at 1034, it's a little too sweet for me, like I started to say.
You want to give it a swirl or just going to let it?
I'm afraid to, because, oh, you got to see this. It's like the creepiest moonscape. It looks like quicksand. And check out the bubbles right here. Look at that. They're about to pop. That is actually just the off-gassing from adding the sodium bicarbonate. We'll put the
And
lid on
yes,
before it pops.
We geek out about science stuff because that's just our nature.
I don't know anything about science stuff. I don't know what she's talking about. I'm putting the lid back on because, well, it looks like it might pop a little bit in there. And I just don't want to get anything in there, more oxygen or anything like that. People are always concerned that we talk over the open brews. Okay, we've been doing this for a long time. That's never been a problem. Because you know what? Even when we used to brew off camera, I talk a lot. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm still talking over open fermenters. We never once had an infection from it. I'm not saying that you should do it because, you can, but
Can you do me a favor?
What's that?
Can you add to your note that we added a full packet of sodium?
I can add to my note. You know what that means, though? That was our last packet of 71B.
I know, it's time to order it.
Time to place an order. Speaking of time, we're going to give this some.
We're actually going to not put this in our ferment station. I'm going to put it right here on the end of our counter so that
we can
way
watch it.
I can keep an eye on it and see if it's doing anything.
Yeah, that was quite concerning. I really would have thought it would have done better
Yeah.
than it did. Though, here's the truth. If this goes down, say, another 20 points, it's probably going to be just fine for us.
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping for at this point. And that's the difference between full-on fermentation mode and rescue mode. And I'm going to coin that phrase. Rescue mode is going to become a thing. We don't enter into it often on the channel, but we have. We haven't installed in quite some time. So
I think at this point, my takeaway from this, without any further evidence or investigation, is that initially we probably should have dropped it down closer to
Yep.
the 4.0
Yep.
pH range. But that's just a guess. That's just an educated guess based
are
on what's
now-
going on.
4 teaspoons of potassium bicarbonate in this.
But we're not done.
Who knows if it's going to affect the flavor? I guess that'll be the test that we'll find out. How much potassium bicarb before it alters the flavor?
Anywho, we'll see you next time once it's done, whatever it's done.
Probably another week or two. It's been 9 days. Let's see, is this doing anything? I have a feeling it is. And I just think somehow we have a bad seal. I don't know how, because this thing usually seals really well. But there is plenty of foamy activity. Let's just show you. See, there's plenty of foam type activity in the top there. I'm just wondering, what did it do? Did it take off? I didn't see any activity in the airlock, but that doesn't mean nothing happened. Yeah, just looking in here, I can see foam. The foam is what makes me think something's going on.
What's going on?
because it wouldn't foam. Oh, there's definitely bubbling.
Yeah.
You can see it. Okay, so I think we're good. I think we're good. But it's not clearing, which maybe just needs more time to clear. But you never know till you take a reading. It's probably the number one piece of advice that I give people on the channel when they ask questions is, did you take a reading? Because it's super important. And we were right. This was not done last time we looked at it. It's still very gassy.
Super gassy.
Well, I wouldn't say super. It's moderately gassy. It's almost like Robin versus Batman gassy.
Significantly gassy.
Yeah, but it's not like crazy. But it is sitting at 1.004, so it fermented a lot more. Now, we don't actually know that the things we did last time made it ferment further. It may have already been fermenting and we didn't really do anything, or we saved it. It's hard to know, and that's just part of brewing, and it's okay.
Lots of this is educated guesses. So the more you know about the fermentation process and the parameters of yeast, the better you'll be able to make an educated guess.
It smells kind of acidic, a little orangey, but overall, it smells kind of like it should. But I'm going to pour this back in very carefully. Notice you don't hear anything because I don't want to oxygenate. And we're just going to put the lid back on.
Gentle swirl.
Yeah, I want to try. Let's see what happens. Does that airlock move? A little bit. I know it doesn't sound gentle, but I am being gentle. And since the airlock moved, we might have gotten a seal this time. Maybe there was something stuck in the seal when we put it on last time. It's entirely possible, but we did get a seal, so should be okay. But at 1.004, this is close to being done, but maybe not fully done. And I don't have a problem with letting it sit for a little while longer because it did not clear at all. I'm not ready to rack this yet, so we're just going to put it in the ferment station and we'll see in another week. It's been 4 weeks. Why? Well, we know this isn't coming out for a while. I mean, we're in March and this is coming out for like the holidays, so there's no rush whatsoever.
Right.
Let it sit for a while.
If you have the ability to let your brews take their sweet old time, then give them that.
Yeah. In this case, we did. It's been sitting for a month. Everything looks fine. There's nothing, no eyeballs glowering at me or anything. You know, it's all good. We are going to take its final reading. It was at 1.004 last we checked. If anything, it'll be the same or maybe a couple points lower. Sometimes they go a little bit lower. It is clearing up quite nicely. It's got an orangey color instead of a red color like you'd expect cranberry to have, but that's what happens during fermentation. You know, things change. No one expects the cranberry fermentation. It did go down a few more points. It's actually sitting at 0.998.
All right.
So it went down like 6 more points over the course of a month, which means now I have to figure out, using the calculator teacher said I would never have, what our alcohol content is. This started at 1.090 minus 0.998 means 92 points or 0.092 gravity times 131.25 gives us 12%. That was neat. All right, so it's 12%. But it's also very dry, and we don't know if we're going to like it or not. So the first thing we want to do...
You want to take a taste?
I'm going to take a quick taste because if this is done, then we just put it right into the final stage of its sitting and let it sit. But if we don't like it, we're going to adjust it. I'm going to give you the first taste.
It's got a bit of a funk on the aroma.
It's cranberry. Cranberry's always got funk.
But then I got the cranberry when I get in there.
I
First
smelled
I was
it.
getting the winey funk. That's the best word I can come up with. But
Oh, okay.
Now that I'm used to that, I'm getting much more pleasant aromas.
Kind of comes across almost like strawberry to me.
It's very different.
It's tart.
Yeah?
It's tangy.
Yeah,
It's mouth-filling.
it is.
I'd like it to be sweeter, though. What do you think? If you want it just like this, we can just put this in a fermenter and let it sit for 6 to 8 months and see.
What did we put in this? Because I had
All right,
ideas.
let's go over it. Let's go over it.
Thank you.
This is Kirkland Cranberry Juice Blend, Go Firm, Fermento, the peel of 1 orange,
Yep.
Premier Rouge, half packet of yeast, and a little bit of potassium bicarb to bring
Adjust
the
pH.
pH down.
Yep.
We added more bicarb to bring the pH down more because, remember, we thought this was stalling at around
Right.
1.034. But the fact that it went to 0.998, this didn't stall.
Right.
It just took a while. And that's cool because cranberry is known for stalling.
But then we added more yeast.
Oh, we added a packet of 71B. Yeah, I think it killed the Premier Rouge.
Yeah.
So it did stall. We revived it. I think it needs more. I taste cranberry, but not a lot of cranberry. So I think we should move to the part B of the plan for this.
Right. Do we want to rack off of this, or are we happy with this fermenter?
Well, we happen to have about this much cranberry. I think we're okay.
Okay.
I don't think we need to rack it. There's really not a lot of advantage to racking it at this point. We'd get it off the lees, but it's probably not going to ferment anymore anyway. It's already at 12%. Yeah, it's pretty much done. And if it does ferment a little bit of the cranberries, I'm okay with that because we're going to make final adjustments at the end. So these have been frozen for quite some time. 24 ounces, so it's like 1.5 pounds. They're like little marbles.
Yep.
And they are still frozen. And I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because I don't care if it ferments more or not. It's fine. It can stop. So Derica's just going to protect herself.
Splash guard. Wow. I think it's going to fit.
It might not. Looks like it will. Just. It's like we planned it or something.
I was going to put other stuff in here. I don't think I am.
What other stuff were you going to put in there?
I was thinking maybe some of our lime zest.
Oh,
No?
no.
No? Okay.
Now, as these thaw, they'll probably sink a bit. This is right to the tippity top, though. This is pretty close to not working. But it'll work. I think it's good.
It's great. Fantastic.
Because they're floating, you know? They're going to stick up a little bit. We are going to have to give this a shake constantly. I'm starting to feel weird about this. I don't know if this is a great idea. But here's the thing. This is where you have to make a choice. If we move this to a larger container, the next largest container we have is 2 gallons. So we will have lots of headspace.
Yeah.
Since this is done with fermentation, there's not really a lot of CO2 left in here. That's not a great way to go. Yeah, it's a calculated risk and we've done it before. In this case, we have almost no headspace.
Right.
So this could be ideal.
Yeah.
It does feel a little bit sketch. I will admit that. But I do feel that as they thaw, they'll probably start to sink a little bit. Because it's just, okay, I'm going to show you what I mean. They are just right up to the top. I mean, this is like the side view. See that? There's like 1/2 inch, and some of them are not even in liquid. That's what troubles me. I wouldn't care if the liquid went all the way to the top. The fact that some of them are not really covered in liquid is what bothers me. So like I said, shake it up.
Yeah. Let's put our lid on there and see if maybe it'll give us just enough of degassing that will feel slightly more comfortable.
Yeah, let's do that. So thankfully, the way the lids work on these particular fermenters is that they sit above. So it's really, really easy. I don't think space is not a problem. But it is cold now.
There's really not much shaking room.
No. Does look like some air came out.
Yeah.
Some gas came out.
Yeah.
I think we're okay. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
But because we have a unique situation going on, I'm not going to put this in the ferment station. No.
Sit out.
I'm going to leave it out where I can look at it and say, are you
Shake it.
working?
And shake it.
And shake it.
Yeah. So we'll see you in probably 2 to 3 weeks once the cranberries have fully extracted. And we'll move from there. It's been 3 weeks since we last touched this because it's been sitting on the cranberries. And I want to say something. We were a little greedy with our cranberries because it went right to the lid and it was spilling out the side. I saw it the next day.
Our cup spilleth over.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow. I don't know if you can see that. I mean, look at that. They're totally spilling out over the top. So we got very, very greedy. I'd say this is about as much volume as you could possibly fit in there.
So much so that
racking this is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Do we want to get like a little bowl and just, I'm all sanitized. I can pick some of those out so we don't spill cranberries.
Might not be a bad idea. We have a bowl. Really? One at a time, huh?
Well, I don't want to smoosh them. I don't want to...
I wonder how they taste.
Probably really tart.
Yeah.
Was that mean? That might have been a little mean. Yeah,
Wow.
That was mean. Don't do that to your loved ones.
Yeah.
Don't be like me.
Because here's the thing, all the sugar gets extracted out. Yeah. Not wonderful.
I will pay for that later.
You might pay for it now. I think that's enough for me to be able to rack. Don't you think? Yeah.
Going off of the theory of displacement.
Yeah. But there's going to be liquid in this by the time we get going.
All right.
It's all good. We got it. We got it. Sometimes you got to just do it.
All right, so racking like usual. Our destination is going on my lap because it's lower than the table.
We estimated the amount because we don't really know. I went about halfway in. And I'm guessing at range here because I have no idea where we are. There's so many berries in here.
Check out that color.
It's an awesome color.
That was what I was looking for with adding the fresh. I'm so happy right now.
Okay, so I think it was a good call to use the narrow mouth 1 gallon because it's quite full.
Yeah.
But that's like perfect for headspace.
Yep.
The trick with headspace is you want as little as possible once fermentation is finished, which fermentation should be done on this. It was 0.998 before we added the cranberries to it. It might be a little higher now because the sugar's leaching out of the cranberries. It could even be lower if they fermented further. And there's a little bit of guesstimation here as far as actual alcohol content. I'll tell you though, all those cranberries, there's not a lot of sugar, okay? It actually did go up. It was 0.998 before. Now it's 1.000. We've seen this happen before. And what might have actually occurred is it fermented a little bit and then extracted more sugars. So we might have slightly higher than the 12% that I calculated before with a little bit more sweetness. So we'll have to find out once this sits for a little while. So I'm just going to pour our sample back in. Put our airlock back on. Stick our note on.
Is it dry?
It's dry.
Perfect. We'll see you in a week when we come back for adjustments and tasting.
It's been 2 weeks, so you know what that means? It's time to take another read. Probably going to be doing alterations, but you know, it's always good to find out. I mean, I have a glass out, so you know, that tells you we're kind of ready for that. Just want to make sure that the fruit isn't still fermenting in some way. That's all. Just a verification check. It looked like it kind of went down, but I'm not so sure anymore.
Those bubbles, those pesky bubbles.
Yeah. Nah, 1.000. Okay, so same as before. So that means this is done. Just in time for us to probably make alterations, sweeten it, and have to do something about fermentation yet again. It's just the way it goes, you know?
So now we're going to give it a taste.
My very wet glass that I just rinsed out. It's a nice color.
Yeah.
It's fairly clear. I think it'll clear a little bit more over time. Smells like cranberries. Smells a little like strawberries, actually. It's tangy.
It's super tangy. It's got that cranberry tang. Yeah. It's one of those things like being sweet will tone down some of that cranberryness, but do we want to do that?
We're both thinking the exact same thing.
Do we want to do that? We don't know. Because it's kind of fun right now. When I first smelled it, I thought I was detecting some unpleasant youth, but then I gave it a good swirl and really got my nose in there.
No, it's just very tangy cranberry.
And it's cranberry.
Now, the initial intent was we call this cranberry sauce wine. It doesn't really taste like cranberry sauce because cranberry sauce is sweet.
I added the orange to try to give it more depth of a flavor. And I think
the orange is a nice addition.
Yeah, it kind of popped the citric acid, I think, played well with the cranberry.
Yeah. Basically, this could go one of two ways, is what we're getting at. If we keep it as is, we can't really call it cranberry sauce wine. It'd just be a dry cranberry wine, which is lovely on its own. If we sweeten it, it could stay true to the original intent. And that's a decision that has to be made every single time you make a brew. We tend to have an idea and want to follow through with that to the end, but sometimes you got to go, hey, this might be better this way, and take a left turn instead of continuing forward on something that might not work. But in this case, I think either one is equally good, except I think I'd like it better sweet.
And I think I would too. And there's something else that I had wanted to add to this, and I did not take a note. And now I'm kicking myself for doing that. So I'm going to have to get out my mini computer, aka my cell phone.
I do not have any idea what you are talking about.
Make sure I'm not just thinking stuff.
I know there was several brews that we have going that you wanted to add other stuff to.
Yeah, but I think this one had a thing. It had a thing. I want to add brown sugar.
Okay.
And cinnamon.
Oh. Okay.
And that will please the Brian as well, won't it?
I think I would like this much better that way. All right, let me get those things out. Okay, so the sample that we had pulled for the hydrometer reading, Derica poured it in a glass and it's over on the side because she's going to drink that because this is very, very full. So what I want to do though is get this racked into a pitcher. There's probably lees in here, so we have the cap on. If you don't know how to rack, we actually have a video on how to do it. It's just moving liquid from one vessel to another. We use an auto siphon. I just go halfway down, give it a couple of strokes to get it going, and now we wait. All right, it's been racked, and we know it's tart and flavorful, but we have brown sugar.
We do.
Got to sweeten its taste now. And this is how we do it. You know, we just add a bit, taste it, add a bit more, taste it again. If you add too much, it's really hard to go back. So just add a little bit at a time. Now this, we know we could drink it the way it was, but I know I like this sweeter. And I might actually drink it if it was sweeter. Whoops, a little splashy there.
We also know we're going to be adding cinnamon. And sometimes cinnamon can be a little potent. So we might want to adjust for that and make it slightly more sweet than just okay.
Yeah, because the astringency sometimes of cinnamon can kind of make things taste less sweet, even though it's interesting because cinnamon alone is perceived as sweet, even though it's really not. Especially, I'll be honest, it's probably not like true cinnamon, which is not really hot. The cassia type cinnamon is usually a little hot, so you want that to be sweeter. We never did determine what it is.
It just says ingredient cinnamon. It's not telling us what type.
But it's from the Asian market.
Yep.
Which means maybe they mean real cinnamon rather than cassia, or maybe they're just lying to us and saying it's cinnamon and it's not. I don't know. There's ways to look at it and know, and like if it curves a certain way. I don't know. Tastes good. That's why we got it. Okay, got a glass. Time to take a sip. Now, I did not put much in at all. I don't expect there to be much change, but I'll give it to the lady to go first. We may experience a smell change on this as we sweeten it, though, because of the brown sugar. It still smells like cranberry to me.
It's funny. It definitely toned the flavor down.
That softened it right away. Wow, that's kind of amazing.
I'm not really getting sweetness so much. I'm just getting the notes.
The tanginess
is diminished
greatly. I think it needs more, though. If we're going this direction, you know, go with it.
Go with it, for sure.
But again, I'm not adding a lot. Like maybe if I go with cups, maybe there's a half cup of brown sugar in there so far. What we will do at the end, though, is give you a final gravity reading so that we know how much we added to get you to that sweetness level.
You want to make sure that you stir thoroughly before each tasting, because if it's not homogeneous, then
you can oversweeten.
You might get too much sugar in your taste, or you might get too little sugar in your taste and not be able to judge it appropriately. And when you're adding sugar, it's really easy to tell because you'll feel crunchies.
If you're using a plastic container. In the glass, it's harder to tell. We get asked pretty often lately, is there any real difference between fermenting in plastic versus glass? No, there really isn't. Aside from it's harder to see in the white buckets sometimes, there's really no difference. I like to imagine that there's a difference in flavor, but I don't think there is. Now, that's just fermenting. If you're going to store it, I do believe that the alcohol will start to leach out some amount of the flavors in plastic, which is probably not all that good, over time. Now, that time could mean weeks, months, years. I don't really know, but I think there is something to that.
But we've noticed, and I'm sure you have too, that there are plenty of distilled spirits which are going to have way more alcohol than anything we brew at home.
They're actually served in plastic.
That are stored and
Yeah,
sold
they're
in
usually
plastic.
the stuff that you got to bend down to get to when you go to the store, but they're there. Starting to smell the difference
Yep, a little bit.
in a good way. It smells nice.
Yep.
It's like fruity molasses. Is that good?
I'm thinking maybe just a little bit more sugar to counter the cinnamon,
Yeah,
but we're definitely
we're in the ballpark.
yeah.
Yeah, it still tastes like cranberry.
Yes.
I'm not really getting a molasses flavor so much, but it does come through in the smell. All right, so now that that's mixed, let's give it one more taste. I don't know why I said that all weird and dramatic. It's just the way it came out.
Drama intensifies.
You know, I'm usually just as surprised by what comes out of my mouth as you guys are. Just so you know. Is that good now?
Do you think it's sweet enough to counter cinnamon?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it has enough sweetness that the cinnamon is going to enhance it rather than work against it. So let's take a reading.
Yeah.
Now, this reading will tell you where, if you try to replicate this recipe, you would end up. Because let's say you had 8 ounces more or 8 ounces less product than we do. Telling you to add a cup of brown sugar or a weight of brown sugar would not be as accurate. Plus, a cup of brown sugar, not an accurate way to do it at all.
Yeah.
Because you
Did you
pack
pack
that
it?
cup,
Did
it's
you not
lighter.
pack it?
Yeah, there's so many different ways. Someone's going to ask, do we use light brown sugar or dark brown sugar? This is dark brown sugar. I think that's the only kind of brown sugar I usually buy.
Yeah.
It's like, why bother with light? Just use less, you know?
Anyway,
I just don't understand.
where are we at?
Not overly high, actually. 1.012. So that way, no matter what volume you have, you can add enough brown sugar to get to 1.012 and get the same thing we got. Now, my recommendation is do it the way we did it, though, where you taste test along the way. That way, you know your taste, not just ours.
Now, somehow we managed to, between our adding of sugar and our sampling, remain at the same volume. So
Yep, 128 ounces.
we're not going to have too many problems because I think we're just going to do one cinnamon stick, right?
Yeah.
So that shouldn't displace enough to cause us problems for our 1 gallon vessel. So we're
No,
going
it
to
should
go
be fine.
ahead and rack this into here.
And then we're going to put everything back together and stick it back in the
We're
ferment
going to
station.
put the cinnamon stick in now too, right?
We can do that right now. Big boy cinnamon stick.
Bloop.
Exciting television right there. So yeah, we're going to just rack this to this, put everything back together, airlock, all that kind of thing, put the notes on it, stick it in the ferment station for at least a week, maybe 2, and we'll be back at that point to show you what it is then. One very important thing that we forgot to say.
We need to pasteurize this.
Yes, because we added a fermentable sugar and it is at 12%, which we know that the yeast that we used, Premier Rouge, can go higher than 12%. We know this has a chance of re-fermentation. Now, if you want it to be higher than 12% alcohol and you want to go through everything that we just did all over again, by all means, don't pasteurize and let it do its thing, but leave it under airlock. However, we just got this to where we like the taste, so we're going to pasteurize. Now, interestingly enough, pasteurizing with the cinnamon stick in there may actually speed up the extraction process.
So we will definitely want to take a taste test
1 week.
and next week.
Yeah, I don't think the 140 degrees Fahrenheit that we pasteurized to is going to make that much difference on it, but it will probably do a little bit. Okay, so we pasteurized it. It's been sitting for like a week. How's it taste?
Let's find out.
We're also going to do a final pH reading. It's come up several times. People asked if we could do that, so we're going to start doing that. And if I could get you to hold this for just a second, I'll get one ready.
It's still kind of drippy. I don't know if that's enough.
No, not really. Of course, it probably dripped right after.
It did.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll get it. I'll get it on this. Where there's a will, there's a way. Isn't it where there's a whip, there's a way? Anybody get that reference? All right, so right now it's sitting, I would say 3.5, which means it actually didn't change all that much during fermentation.
Well, that's curious.
Now, we did sweeten and things like that, so maybe that adjusted it at the end. I don't really know. I'm not worried. It's in a fine range. Color. It's kind of orange. It looks like tea.
It desaturated,
Yeah,
I would
changed the
say. It was more intensely red in my memory, but that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean it was that.
It is possible that pasteurization changed the color.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. I have heard some people say that. It is pretty reasonably clear. I mean, it's got like the slightest bit of haze.
Yep.
But it's I would call it a clear beverage.
On the aroma, it is definitely cranberry.
Yeah.
But I am getting a little bit of
Cinnamon.
some cinnamon and
Even like some citrus.
a little bit of the orange. Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, I'm going in. That's nice and smooth. It's got the tanginess of the cranberry.
And
A little bit of sweetness.
You get the cinnamon in the back.
Cinnamon's there. A little bit of orange. Yeah.
This is lovely.
Yep. This is like, I would say it's cran orange, light on the orange wine.
I can see
Powerful
this.
flavor though.
I can see this heated.
Oh yeah. This is
on a
mold.
cold
It's
winter
it's
day.
pre-mold.
It's pre-mold. Yeah.
We do a lot of those.
So-
Sit by a fire in the wintertime.
Because we're getting the fruity notes that I really enjoy, and then the spice notes that Brian really enjoys.
This
this
is
is a-
appropriate for both.
It's a Derica.
Yeah, it is. Now, the point behind this, we had initially intended for this to come out sometime around the holidays. And then we thought about it and we were like, well, that doesn't really work. We want this to come out now so that people can start it and have it ready for the holidays,
Yep.
maybe with a little bit of age. So that's why it's coming out in, what is it, April or May? Rather than, I don't know what day this is coming out. We're filming it in April, but it'll probably come out in May.
It'll be out before December.
Yes. That way you have time to make it and age it and have it all ready. One thing I will say is don't rush. Let things sit for a while. We really took our time with this one. We started this on February 3rd. Today is April 28th. So February, March, April. 3 months to get to this point. Almost 4 months to get to this point. Because we didn't rush it. We let it sit for a week or 2 weeks longer than we normally would. And you know what? It all works out. People are so... They want to rush everything. They want to rack to get to this and rack to get to this. And then they're left with a rocket fuel flavored cloudy beverage and they don't understand why.
Yeah. If you are in a dire emergency and really need
Go buy something.
an alcoholic beverage,
Go buy it.
Go buy one. Don't.
Yeah. Brewing is not a rushed hobby. It's definitely, you need patience, which is shocking that I can do it. And I think the only reason why I can do it is because we have so many going at
And they're
once.
out of sight. They're out of the way. So
I don't see them all the time and that kind of thing. But we have so many going at once, 5, 6, sometimes 8 or 9 going at the same time, all in various stages. So it keeps, there's always something to do if you want to, though, in all honesty, we don't mess with them all that much anymore. We really don't. We just don't mess with them. Like you guys see everything that we do.
That's right. Speaking of everything we do, it's time to give this a score.
Actually, it's time for me to finish my glass first. I have a score. Do you have a score?
I do.
1, 2, 3, 8.5. I was debating between 8 and 8.5. I went 8.5 because it's got just enough spice level to it to really work. I couldn't go a lot higher, though.
Yeah, I kind of wanted it more juicy, which seems ridiculous because it's very juicy. But I think the extra punch of spice, which is why Brian gave it a higher score, is what is detracting my score. But it's only half a point, so don't get too crazy about it.
And I think what this comes down to is I like cinnamon more than I like cranberry, and she likes cranberry more than she likes cinnamon. So this is where different tastes and different palates play into each other.
Yep.
But something to understand too is we are super nitpicky on our scoring now. If something really does get a 10 or an 11, you know it's really, really good. I mean, it has to be amazing to get that high.
And regardless what number we put on this, would I make this and be proud to share this with friends and family during the holidays? Absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is fantastic. Most of our family would love this. Yeah, just awesome. So, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.